We need a strong common agricultural policy to ensure that European agriculture can continue to provide economic, environmental and social benefits to our farmers and citizens in the future. This includes the delivery of stronger environmental and climate ambitions as set out in the Green Deal and the Farm to Fork strategy. I welcome that many of honourable members share this basic orientation for the future common agricultural policy. However, I took note that some amendments do not share our ambition for a greener and fairer CAP.
Neither the Council, and in that respect I have to especially criticize the German presidency, nor the Parliament. In that respect I mean the three major groups, the EPP, the Conservatives, the Social Democrats and the Renew, the Liberals. They completely missed the opportunity to go for real reform. While we spent the majority of the EU budget, so almost 400 billion euros, for the next 7 years, we will not match the huge challenges which are ahead of us, especially in the agriculture sector. We have to improve the effectiveness in terms of biodiversity, in terms of climate change, in terms of also allocation of funds. We know, especially in Central and Eastern Europe, that they have a weak governance. And when we give more competences and more competences and more responsibility, more tasks to the membership, to the member states level, this is a danger. So I would say that we need more mechanism, more provisions for anti-corruption to really prevent this amount of fraud which can happen on the first pillar but also in the second pillar.
You are a Green MEP. I've read other people's parties that you've mentioned saying that it will be a greener CAP, that they've allocated 30% to environmental measures. There's more about biodiversity. You're saying that it really isn't enough?
No, it's not obligatory. So what they have proposed is, first of all, they have reduced the percentage which was in the proposal of the Commission. It says 30% should be given to eco schemes, while there are not mandatory, but they are voluntarily and not mandatory. So of course this is a big difference, and we do not know how the member states will finally work out the national strategic plans. So a lot of, let's say, the pattern or the design, the programs will be afterwards happening in the member states. And as I said, if you do not have a scrutiny, if you do not have a monitoring criteria after which you can really measure whether those eco schemes will work and how they are implemented, there is, I would say, a big danger that there will be even a worse, let's say, situation in terms of biodiversity.
MEPs have said to me that there are measures against fraud at this moment. So, for example, they were capping the size, the amount that any person can get, and there were some additional measures. These aren't going to do the trick.
Unfortunately, yes, of course, we are also in favor of capping, but even the danger to circumvent, to pass around at any legal, let's say, EU regulation is very high. If you are running a large company, agricultural company, you can afford to hire a legal expert to help you to split those companies. And that's already what's going to happen right now in some of the member states, where they have tried to implement voluntary caps. So if we are going now for mandatory caps, what's going to happen is that these larger companies, they will just split them in smaller units, and of course will give them different names and will find different executive managers, but nevertheless the final beneficiary will be the same. So I think it's important not to have caps on an individual farm, but have caps for the final beneficiary. For example, Mr. Andrej Babiš, who is the Prime Minister of the Czech Republic, he owns a lot of, I think, 230 different companies all over the European Union. And of course, if we can say we have a cap of whatever sum for the final beneficiary, that makes sense. But if he can distribute this or disperse the money all over his 230 companies, it will be very hard to really make a difference.